The following training is sponsored by the Niagara Library System. We serve our member libraries in Niagara, Orleans, and Genesee counties. Please visit your local library homepage and use your library card to get access to streaming videos, downloadable music, audiobooks, ebooks, and even more from the comfort of your own home. Thank you. Hello. Jumping right into this, we're going to talk about ways to approach tough conversations, talk about good conflict versus high conflict. These are things that we just discussed in the last video. And of course, I do have, well, I was going to say you can see here, but maybe you can't at the bottom of the screen. Amanda Ripley's book, How to Work with Someone Who Creates Unnecessary Conflict, High Conflict, Why We Get Trapped. So we're going to talk briefly about her. And we're also going to talk about some information from this Catherine Mannix and Scott Mouts. So let's go ahead and get into it. A quick recap of what we talked about with Amanda Ripley. She writes, conflict at work comes in many forms. Good conflict, the kind that is healthy, pushes us to be better as people in communities. Think of good conflict as fighting confirmation bias, constant learning, and it's a constant choice to move forward and learn uncomfortable things. Good conflict, I also want to put in here, can come at times as well when you're prepared for it. A lot of high conflict comes from a place where you feel attacked, you feel defensive, you're not ready for it. Going back to what Amanda Ripley was saying, most organizations actually need more good conflict, not less, but sometimes conflict can become malignant. It hijacks precious time, trust, energy, turning allies against each other and distorting reality. That's a big problem. So on this note, Catherine Mannix, a retired consultant in palliative medicine, wrote this next article, How to Say the Unsayable, and she outlines 10 steps. I'm not going to go through everything exactly again, give the original author some love, but 10 steps for having important or difficult conversations. Invite, don't insist. And this is where I was just mentioning, if we have something to say, we can invite people, and if it's not the right time, or place, you give an invitation to it, you allow the other person some choice in the matter. You don't just come out with the finger pointing, going, you, okay? So invite, don't insist. Pace yourself. Important conversations can go wrong if participants talk themselves to exhaustion. Plan on a chat for 10 minutes, and then take a break, build it in, okay? Listen to understand. Active listening cannot be understated. Active listening cannot be understated. So listen carefully to the person, try to understand. And again, I absolutely adore the line from Pulp Fiction, do you listen or do you wait to talk? We have to actually listen, not just wait to talk. Be curious, not opinionated. Let me pull this up to the top of the screen. Be curious. What is the person you are speaking to telling you that you didn't know before? What are they telling you that maybe you didn't actually ask? Are they deflecting? What's their mood? How do they see the situation? Let your curiosity ask questions about their ideas, not necessarily focusing on them as a person, but their ideas and their thoughts. Okay? Give unwelcome news gradually rather than causing shock by blurting out news that is unexpected. Begin by giving some background or often better conversation. I'll invite them to recap the story so far, and it allows them to get into a frame of mind where they might, another person and even yourself, it's easier to deliver the news. Sit with distress without trying to make it better. It's not a bad thing if strong emotions are expressed. It's okay. You can be a quiet companion to those in distress. Don't interrupt the silence. Silence is often where you do your thinking. Now, again, on this note, I find myself when I'm talking on the phone, especially, silence is like an enemy. It's like, did I lose you? Are you there? Hello? And I often use silence to continue talking. Not always good. Got to give people time to think, digest information, and come up with a reasonable thought or answer. Support, don't fix. We can disempower people by taking over. If the solution was easy, they would have solved their difficulty by now. So what solutions maybe they have considered? Ask them, the person themselves, what advice would you give someone else here? Let them think of it let them pull out of that first person oh my God, right in the weeds point of view. Let them pull out to a bigger picture and see what maybe they didn't see, knock something loose that they didn't see before. Try and end on a positive note. Giving a time warning is helpful. Thank you is always a good note to finish on. And then last but not least, she mentions look after yourself. If you are feeling unsettled by a conversation, breathe, take a walk. Even if it's just standing up and closing your eyes, it can be a good thing to do. Now, I didn't want to give away the ending here, but I think I already did, so... Scott Mouts has an excellent bit of advice for us on this note. Having a difficult conversation doesn't mean you have to talk very much. For tough conversations, I always pictured having to outline all the things I would say, make all the counter arguments, and then all the pointed statements to share, list it all out, get the whiteboard out, overwhelm them with post-it notes, and make your argument. This is what's going on. This is the wrong approach. Dr. Albert Berenstein says it's far more important to listen, reflect, and observe. The more you listen, the more likely it is that they will listen as well. This is another effect of what can be called mirroring. I had talked about this in a previous video last year, I think, in 2020. When a person is connecting with you, when you are talking and going back and forth, and you see this a lot in dating and whatnot, a person has a tendency to mirror the other person. So I'm glancing at my coffee. If I take a drink, then you go take a drink, and we're together. That's a positive sign. If I am a little more willing to keep my mouth shut, to think, to reflect back, to actually listen, and then show that I'm listening when I talk, not by talking at the person, but by reflecting back maybe some of the thoughts, the things that they've mentioned, some of the feelings they have. That's the more likely you are to do that, the more likely they are to mirror you. And ironically, the more listening that can be done, the more direct and good communication can happen without having escalating to high conflict, to ad hominem attacks and whatnot. So you get more of an opportunity to listen then. You can ask fair questions rather than thinking of the next statement you're going to make and pulling out all of those bullet points. I hope this was helpful. I enjoy making these, and if you do, let me know. If you don't, let me know too. And I need to know, so I gotta listen to you. Take care. We'll see you in the next one. Bye now.